Whether you're just a casual football enjoyer or you literally bleed your team's colors, I'm sure you can feel the tension in some games. Divisional rivalries, or even going against that one opponent, always raises the bar for both teams. It doesn't matter if one team's undefeated and the other one is 0-16, the game will be a nail-biter, which will probably give you around 7 to 10 heart attacks in a 3-hour span. Anyways, in this video, we've gathered the 10 absolute greatest rivalries in NFL history, so make sure to stick through the end because they'll get crazier as we move on. So at number 10, we have the Steelers vs Cowboys. This is honestly quite an impressive rivalry given that they not only play in different divisions but also in different conferences. They've played a total of 30 regular season games in which the Cowboys currently hold a 16-14 lead. I mean, that's insanely close. Besides, they played in 3 Super Bowls together, which of course is the most common Super Bowl matchup as of right now. Contrary to a regular season, Pittsburgh has had Dallas' number in those games as they managed to win the first 2 encounters. The Cowboys got their revenge just over 25 years ago when they finally beat them in Super Bowl 30, so they got a piece of the cake too. This rivalry has since cooled off a little bit, but don't let that fool you, because despite only playing each other every 4 years, you can feel the atmosphere as dense as it gets when these two teams face each other. There have been some insanely close and fun matchups between these two recently, and I think at this point in time, it's pretty safe to say that any Cowboys-Steelers game is a must-watch regardless of either team's situation. Moving on to number 9, Dolphins vs Patriots. Ah yes, a long-lasting rivalry featuring some unique moments as well. Miami currently leads the all-time series 61-55, and it doesn't look like the Patriots will be overtaking them soon. This rivalry is so intense that fans of both teams constantly get into brawls whenever there's a game between these two, and they play twice a season, so you get an idea on how heated up these matchups can get. And I'm not only talking about the fans, but believe me when I tell you, it's no surprise whatsoever to see players fighting amongst them at a random moment in the game. Not only is this divisional rivalry as heated as it can get, but it also has featured some amazing moments. Take for example the Miami Miracle back in 2018, or Miami ending the Patriots' 21-win streak in 2008. Now at number 8, it's Washington vs Philly. Despite the Eagles' recent success and Washington's struggles on and off the field, Philly is still trailing 89-82, whilst tying the game in 5 occasions. Games between these two teams are always close. I mean, we could even go back to last season where the 5-4 Commanders took out the then undefeated Eagles, who by the way were heavy favorites in that game. They haven't seen each other much in the playoffs as Washington won the only matchup they had. However, despite the lack of playoff history, both of these fanbases are known for going the extra mile for their team and being as diehard as it gets. So naturally, the excitement for the games is truly astonishing, and I would dare to say probably jaw-dropping in some occasions. In 7th place are the Saints vs Falcons. These two have been going at it since forever. I mean, I can literally think about a million plays when you mention these two teams. Not only has it featured some incredible moments, but it's also quite a competitive rivalry. Out of the 108 games they faced each other, including postseason, the Saints and Falcons are tied with 54 wins each. That's right, after over 100 games, they are all tied up. That's before their 2023 games take place. I mean, by the time you're watching this video, one of them probably already took over by 2. But regardless, the competitiveness is at another level, and the fans are no joke either. They are diehard, and whenever the Falcons visit the Saints and vice versa, the home crowd will make sure to let everyone know who's the boss. Up next at 6, we have the Chiefs vs Raiders. These two fanbases are some of the craziest ones, willing to pretty much do anything for their team. Alongside with that, they face each other over 120 times in a 70+ years time span. In those games, the Chiefs are 72-54, with the games ending in a tie twice. Based on that record, it may seem as if this rivalry wasn't really that competitive, but don't let the recency bias fool you. Despite the Raiders having an advantage over the Chiefs early in the Super Bowl era, Kansas City has been able to flip the table, winning 15 out of their last 17 games against the Raiders. This rivalry is historical, and despite it seemingly being a one-sided affair in recent games, both teams certainly give way over 100% every time they face each other. Moving on, Steelers vs Bengals. AFC North games are a completely different breed. Even if you're watching from your couch, you can feel the hate and the tension between these two teams. They face each other over 100 times, with the Steelers having the upper hand winning 68 games compared to Cincy's 39. However, despite these differences, the games between the Steelers and Bengals are always close, and it's pretty much guaranteed we'll see a fight happen at one point of the game or another. Things have gotten pretty intense between players, and some names actually come to mind when talking about this rivalry. Take for example Vontae Burfict, who could be one of the main reasons why Antonio Brown is out of the league with a high likelihood of having mental issues. Or think about Juju Smith-Schuster, who made sure to avenge Revenge Brown hitting Burfitt as revenge. The hit between these two teams is insane, and whenever they play, you can tell it's bound to be a good one. At number 4, Seahawks vs 49ers. They've only faced each other 50 times, which isn't a lot. However, there are already multiple historical moments in those games, and just as with some of the previous rivalries, you can feel the tension through the screen whenever these two play. San Francisco won the last 3 encounters, but Seattle still holds a 30-20 lead over them. But regardless of that record, the games are always close. I mean, a couple of years ago, the outcome of the game literally came down to just 1 yard. Yeah, this is an insane rivalry, and I would dare say it is kind of underrated. Cracking up the top 3 is Steelers vs Ravens. Baltimore has been putting up a fight against Pittsburgh ever since joining the league back in 1996. This is considered by many to be one of the toughest and most physical rivalries in NFL history, despite them playing each other only 53 times. In those games, the Steelers currently hold a 33-25 lead, which is pretty stable as of right now, since they are 9-8 in the last 17 games, with Pittsburgh having the upper hand. Oh, and let's not forget to mention, they've also faced in the playoffs 4 times, with the Steelers having Baltimore's number in those games, winning 3 of them. It may seem as a very short-lived rivalry, but it already has tons of history. I mean, in 2008, they literally battled it out for a spot in the Super Bowl. That's impressive. Number 2, Cowboys vs Eagles. Counterpart to the past one, this rivalry has been around for quite some time, with these two seeing each other for well over 100 times. Dallas currently holds a 73-55 lead, which has been extended recently, with them winning 8 out of the last 11 matchups. Regardless, the scores are always close, even if one of the teams is a Super Bowl contender and the other one is bottom of the league. In addition to that, Philly and Cowboys fans are known for being some of the craziest and most diehard ones in the NFL, which adds even more spice to this rivalry. I mean, it gets so crazy that some fans might even be scared to attend a game on the road for fear of getting into a fight. And finally at number 1, Bears vs Packers. Look, all the other rivalries I've mentioned have teams that face each other around 80-90 times. Well, Green Bay vs Chicago is a completely different story. There have been 207 games between these two teams. Yeah, you heard that right. That's over half the total games the Houston Texans have played as an NFL franchise. And if that wasn't enough, the record is pretty close, with the Packers winning 106 of those games and the Bears getting the W in 95 occasions. Oh, and they've also tied 6 times. The Packers have a comfortable lead now, but actually just a couple of years ago, the Bears were leading the matchup, but Green Bay has been dominating the rivalry in recent years. Both of the fan bases are insanely diehard, and both franchises have a long history way before the Super Bowl was even a thing. This rivalry for me is 100% the greatest one in NFL history, and I'm sure it will stay at the top for at least the next couple of decades, no doubt about it. Anyways, that's all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I get to see you on the next one.